friends have a conversation where one wants to play Risk and one wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, well, now you might have a solution. Because Dungeons and Dragons came out with a new game called Conquest and Nerath, which basically what it is a combination of Risk-like war game strategy elements with the feel of a simplified Dungeons and Dragons experience. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that game in a few seconds, and you kind of saw the preview, the scope of it coming into the video, so we'll see how the rest kind of plays out, and if it's something you'd be interested in buying later in the year, maybe around Christmas time. Okay, we'll take a look at it right now. Now, what's kind of neat is the game sets up consistently the same way every time, and it has the icons under each territory of the units you put there. So the game pretty much starts in battle. There's no revving up to the game. It automatically starts with armies posed to attack one another. I wanted to give you a sense of a battle, so what not a better place than the highly contested island in the center of the board. There's 3 foot soldiers and a knight against a hobgoblin or orcish fighter, foot soldier, and a war machine. Basically, in most cases, the armies do simultaneously attack each other, and you take losses off. There is a possibility that both armies could eradicate both sides and leave the property empty. Of course, there's exceptions, and we'll go over those in a few seconds. So let's just pretend we're gonna have this battle. Basically, any roll of a 6 is a hit. They had 2 hits, so basically, they would have killed off these 2 units. Basically, the humans would just kill off these 2 with 2 rolls of a 6, and these 2 units would go away, and then the humans have to decide how many men they want to move into this property. Remember, every time you conquer a new property that is not your own, you actually gain a victory point, and you also are going to get some currency at the end of the round to repurchase your units for future conquests. This is a quick reference guide. We were talking about the units, and each unit is basically the same for each army, except they sometimes are represented by a different looking character. The foot soldiers, all units hit with a roll of a 6. Foot soldiers cost only 1, and here you can see that they're 6 roll 6-sided dice, and they move 1. Siege engines roll an 8-sided dice. They cost 2, and they have a powerful attack, which simply means when they attack, they roll 2 8-sided, and when they defend, they only roll 1. Fighters roll 10. They can explore dungeons, and they have a battle at sea. They can defend the ship. Wizards are 10. They have first strike, explore dungeons, and battle at sea. Monsters are 12-sided dice, and they run amok. Run amok is when, if you're victorious, you can run to an empty adjacent territory and claim that one as well. Castles are 20-sided dice. That's the origin of all your units come into the game, and they can be captured. Storm elementals are flying. They're 3 cost. They're an 8-sided dice. They move 2. They capsize, which means when they attack things at sea, it's a double 8-sided roll. And they hover. They can stop above water. They don't have to be above land when they end their turn. Dragons are very powerful. They do cost the most, 5. They are a 20-sided dice to attack. They can move up to 3 spaces. Remember, they also reposition with the storm elemental, so they can fly back 3 more. They're durable, which means they technically, the first hit they get in combat doesn't hurt them, and the second hit puts them out of action, so they can absorb a lot of extra damage in battle, and if they don't actually die, they go back to normal after battle. So that's kind of a nice way to absorb a lot of damage. And finally, Warship. And Warship is, it's only on sea. It costs 2. It's an 8-sided dice.
and it's sea transport. It can move up to 2 units from one location to another. This is an example of a really good player aid that the game gives you. This is for the Iron Circle, which is the Hobgoblin or the Orcish army. It has turn order, and you can see that the undead always go first, followed by the elves, then the hobgoblins, and then finally the humans. Sequence of play: draw a card, event card, move, fight battles, reposition. Some units that can fly can actually fly out of the after military contact. The dragons and the storm elementals can go back to a different position. Reinforce is when you can buy new pieces, and then you move the new pieces. They all new units that come into the game have 1 free troop movement. And finally, you collect income. You take gold equal to the land spaces you control. Here's an example of a wizard entering a dungeon or tomb. Now, if the character is within 1 space and they move in, they have to encounter the guardian, which is usually at the door, and it'll protect the fighter or the wizard from entering the tomb. It's advisable when you go in these tombs to probably take more than 1 person, but if you're spread thin and you want a Hail Mary, you want to get some treasure that helps you out, certainly it's advisable. Wizards more so than knights. You move in, and instead of attacking a unit, you flip the door over, and the door dictates what's inside. It's zombies, and they have 2 6-sided. Now remember, the wizard attacks first, so we roll the wizard's die, and he rolls a 10. So the zombie loses the smallest dice. He's only rolling a 6-sided against this wizard. So he rolls, and he misses with a 5. The wizard rolls a 7, kills the last hit dice, the zombie. The zombie goes away, and you get to draw a treasure. Here's the treasure, and it's the Horn of Blasting. It says, score 1 hit at the start of a battle against a space containing a castle. The space controller decides how to take the damage, and it's automatic victory point. So once you have this horn, you can use this and benefit from this every time you enter a battle. So this is pretty powerful. You're delivering 1 kill to a unit every time you enter a new battle. And these treasures tend to be very powerful and also game-changing, so it's very important that you go in early and take up these treasures to help you fight your wars. So here's an example of the event cards. Now, event cards have the rules set on them when you can play them. So each round or each turn that you have, you can draw a card, and then it tells you when you can play it. For instance, this says play immediately, and it says add 1 Karkoth foot soldier to each of 2 different land spaces you control. So you go ahead and you play down 2 different foot soldiers on each 2 different lands you own. Now, what's difficult or different about these cards is that, look at, there's a fairly big deck of cards, and you're not guaranteed to see all the cards. Now, some of the cards are really simple, like just adding foot soldiers to land, but like here, Soil Rot, roll a 10-sided dice attack die against each enemy land space adjacent to at least 1 land space you control. Some of these are devastating. Now, there's enough of them where you might not be able to actually find, in the course of 1 game, the more devastating cards. I've played a couple of games now where I have not drawn the major destructive elements event cards for my deck, but my opponent might have drawn some really horrific things like dragons attacking and doing double damage, or doing so many damage hits per space and destroying a whole army, a large army. Well, Conquest and Nerath was one of those games that I kind of liked in the sense that it was an instant game. You set it up, and immediately you got to start pounding on somebody. The rules were simplified. It was very generic. A simple 6 hits, you lose your units, and all the different creatures. The only thing that I found that was kind of troubling was the event cards, in the sense that it was a luck factor involved when you're drawing the weaker luck cards compared to the stronger ones.
You could never see, in some cases you might never see a really powerful set of cards come your way. It might just be all the wimpy ones. I kind of wished it was some kind of tiered system where tier 1 you had the wimpier cards, tier 2 a little bit stronger, and then tier 3, so you're almost guaranteed by the end of a couple rounds in that you're getting something better than just add a unit to a land somewhere or a territory. I like the fact that it caused that unnatural feel of constantly invading somebody else's lands instead of protecting your own. Didn't seem normal to me to do that, but it was kind of interesting because it forced you not to stay in one part of the map. You had to go out and constantly conquer opponents' lands to generate income. Also, that was kind of neat was the fact that you had that small Dungeons and Dragons flair. It reminded me of playing all those old modules back in the 80s. The Tomb of Elemental Evil and the Tomb of Horrors and all those different things. It made me kind of reminisce a little bit about those old Dungeons and Dragons days. Well, Conquest of Nerath. I think it's a game for kind of simulating risk and that kind of feel. Mild strategy, kind of fun with the dungeons thrown in as a twist. Definitely a fun game. Everybody who played it had a pretty good time. I liked it a lot. It was a pretty good game. So if that's something you're interested in, yeah, go get it. Otherwise, I say Kevin Wenzel for 2d6.org, and I say keep playing.